Welcome to this storytelling session. My name is Walang Abang. The story I'm going to tell you today is entitled The Tale of Asakwakwa. For those of you who are used to the culture of storytelling, you must have heard this song many years ago. Willy, Willy, come here. Willy, woman, come here. Willy, Mutanda, come here. Asakwakwa, you stay there. Yes, you got it right. This was a beautiful story that we heard when we were growing up as little kids. And it is my greatest pleasure to revive this culture of storytelling, which is dying. We need to get our kids connected again or reconnected. We need to get reconnected with our realities of the past because I know that there is a lot to learn. There are so many connections in those stories that reflect our realities. So, my appeal to those of us out there in the diaspora and to all of us, even back at home, is that we get our kids to read these stories again. In fact, we have many of them. I've already written and published many of them. If you follow me, if you get to me, if you inbox me, you can get copies of these books, folk tales, many of these beautiful folk tales for kids and even adults. So I said, I'm planning to tell you the story or the tale of Asakwakwa. Now, once upon a time, a little handsome boy was born to a rich couple. They named him Asakwakwa. Asakwakwa was a lucky kid because his parents were very rich. His father was a rich merchant who traveled to many cities and countries in the world to buy and sell different goods. So he was very rich. And he was hardly there because he was always traveling. But when he had the time, he would give his family such a wonderful treat. He was kind, he was generous. Asakokwa's mother also was a very good woman. She used to give gifts of clothes, food, money to the servants because they had several servants. So she used to give them gifts of food, money, clothes for their families. And so all of them, they were very happy. They were happy, they took good care of Asakwakwa. There was one particular servant called Yanta Manta who was living in the house, and she was really pretending to be a good woman too. But deep inside her heart, she was jealous of Asakwakwa's mother. Yeah, she really was jealous of Asakwakwa's mother, and she was hoping to take her place. So they lived like this. Asakwakwa's father was going out to sell, and when he's coming back, he would bring gifts for everybody, his wife, his handsome son, and his servants. He even brought things for the poor people also in the city. The Asakwakwa family had a very large, beautiful house, a compound that had some of the most beautiful flowers inside. The compound was very beautiful, and the servants were really happy to be part of such a wonderful family. So, unfortunately, one day Asakwakwa's mother died. Nobody really knew under what she took ill and she died, but some people were suspecting that it was Yanta Manta that killed her. Mhm, because of the way she behaves later in the story. So they were suspecting that Yanta Manta had killed her. Asakwakwa and his father were quite devastated. They were really sad. The death of Asakwakwa's mother pained them so much. They were sad. They could not be consoled. But 1 year later, 1 year after the death of Asakwakwa's mother, Asakwakwa's father's family advised him to marry another woman because they thought that Asakwakwa was quite young. He was about 9, 10, 11. They thought that he was quite young and that the house needed a woman who would take care of him as his own mother. So they advised Asakwakwa's father to marry another woman. And Yanta Manta, since Asakwakwa lost the mother, Yanta Manta, who was the servant, the pretentious servant, had been pretending to love Asakwakwa again even more. She was taking good care of Asakwakwa, taking care of him personally as if Asakwakwa was her own child. She was taking care of him, and Asakwakwa's father was very pleased with what he saw, with what he saw. So he decided, when the family advised him to marry another woman, he decided to marry Yantamanta because he thought that Yantamanta was good to Asakwakwa and she was going to take good care of him. Yantamanta, however, told Asakwakwa's father that she had 3 children who were living in her house. So Asakwakwa's father agreed that Yantamanta's 3 children come and stay with them. When the 3 children stayed with Asakwakwa, they were always inviting Asakwakwa to play with them. They were playing inside a compound, and Asakwakwa's father saw this and thought that it was very good. He thought that Asakwakwa had found meaningful company, people that he could play with, people that he could distract him. But in their private moments, Yantamanta and her children were praying that Asakwakwa's father should start going out for his business trips, because they wanted to show him their true color. They wanted to treat him really, really badly, because all along they had been pretending. So one day, Asakwakwa's father told his family, that's Yantamanta, Asakwakwa, and the 3 other kids, that he was going to travel out for business. And unconsciously, Willie Woman, and Willie Mutanda, for those were the names of Yantamanta's 3 children, unconsciously they jubilated. And Asakwakwa's father was like, what's happening? But Yantamanta was quick. She looked at them with such serious, rebuking eyes, like, what are you guys doing? And the children understood, and they pulled themselves together again. And, they pretended to be sad. Yeah, they pretended to be sad that Asakwakwa's father was finally going out. They were sad, so, things like that. And Asakwakwa's father did not really understand what was happening. So he went out, however. He traveled the next day. And as soon as he set his feet out of the house, Yantamanta became the true evil that Asakwakwa did not know. Yantamanta started treating Asakwakwa very badly. Now, it all started when Yantamanta and her children were sitting in the living room, and they were playing together. And Asakwakwa, who had been resting in his own room, came out to ask Yantamanta something. She came out like, Auntie Yanta, can I? But Yantamanta interrupted him abruptly and shouted, hey, stand right there, you bastard. Who do you call Auntie Yanta? I mean, Asakwakwa was surprised. And Yantamanta was pointing, raising her palms up as if Asakwakwa was possessed by some evil spirit that she did not want to mingle, with her children. She shouted at Asakwakwa, and Asakwakwa was surprised. He looked behind to see if, there was somebody behind him that Yantamanta was talking to. And he didn't see anybody. He didn't still believe. He thought that it was some kind of drama that Yantamanta was acting. And he said, but Auntie Yantamanta, what happened? And she screamed further, hey, shut up right there. Don't even try to call my name again in this house. Look at him, bastard like you. Are you even sure that you are the son of my husband? Your mother was a witch. She said all kinds of nasty things to Asakwakwa, and Asakwakwa was surprised. And Asakwakwa did not still understand. And then her children were sitting there, Willie Woman, and Willie Mutanda. They were laughing. And Yantamanta even got angrier. She told her children, Willie Woman, Willie Mutanda, are you stupid children? You see this bastard, this wicked child, disturbing your lovely mother, and you do not beat him up. Come on, go on and beat the bastard. And like 3 wild dogs that were just waiting for the command of their master, Willie Woman, and Willie Mutanda sprang up and ran to Asakwakwa and started beating him up mercilessly. Yantamanta was laughing. Yes, beat the hell out of him. pinch his nose, tune his ear like a radio, slap his jaw, knock his head. She was giving the orders, and the three children were beating Asakwakwa, and Asakwakwa was surprised. He was really, really surprised. He did not understand what was happening. What kind of drama were they playing? Barely hours that his father had left the house. His stepmother had changed like a chameleon. The children were beating upon him. Now, Asakwakwa thought of running away from the house, but he didn't. He was still a small child. He didn't really know where to run to. Yanta Manta continued to treat Asakwakwa very, very cruelly in the absence of Asakwakwa's father. Yes, she sent all the servants away. That's one of the first things she started doing. She sent all the servants away, and she gave all the house chores to Asakwakwa. Asakwakwa had to clean the house. He had to wash the dishes. He had to wash dresses, Yantamanta's dresses and the dresses of her three children. He had to do everything in the house. In fact, Asakwakwa had to cook sometimes. The only thing that saved Asakwakwa from cooking always is that Asakwakwa had not yet learned how to cook very well. And when Yantamanta cooked food and served it on the table, she would sing her song. Willie, Willie, come here. Willie, woman, come here. Willie Mutanda, come here. Asakwakwa, you stay there. Her three children will rush to the table and they will eat all the food. Asakwakwa was given only food that was stale, food that had slept the night. And as Yantamanta and her children deemed the food unfit for their own consumption, that is the food that they gave to Asakwakwa without even warming it. They were very, very wicked, very cruel to Asakwakwa. Asakwakwa became very miserable. He was praying that his father should come back very fast. Asakwakwa was planning to tell his father, and it's as if Yantamanta read his mind. So Yantamanta warned him seriously. Yantamanta told him that, Asakwakwa, if your father comes to this house and you talk about me and my children, you say any bad thing about me and my children, I will kill you, this boy. You have not yet seen my wickedness. Try and cough out something bad about me and my children to your father Asakwakwa. You will see what I will do to you in this house. Yes, she frightened Asakwakwa. And Asakwakwa thought of many things. He even thought of killing himself one day. The way Yantamanta treated him, the way her children treated him. When Yantamanta went to the market and bought nice things for her children, she would come and sit in the living room and she would sing the song. Willie, Willie, come here. Willie, woman, come here. Willie Mutanda, come here. Asakwakwa, you stay there. And her children would come to the living room and she would give them nice dresses. She would give them toys. She would give them wonderful things that she had bought from there for them. And she wouldn't give anything to Asakwakwa. Asakwakwa became pale like this, really pale and miserable. In fact, Yantamanta had removed Asakwakwa from his own room and put him in a storeroom where they used to pack food. Imagine all the smell of rotten food. That is where Asakwakwa was sleeping, in his own father's house. And when Asakwakwa's father came back, from his business trip, Yantamanta would take a nice dress, bathe Asakwakwa very well. She would bathe him herself, bathe him very well, and wear him the nice dresses and put him in the parlor, in the living room. Asakwakwa's father would be like, what is happening? Asakwakwa is very pale. He looks miserable. And Yantamanta would lie to him and tell him that Asakwakwa was sick. He was very sick and she took him to the hospital, that Asakwakwa has not been eating. And because the poor little kid was afraid to tell the father what was happening, he was afraid that Yantamanta was going to kill him. He never told his father anything. The father would tell Yantamanta to take good care of him and he would go back for his business trips. And behold, Yantamanta will start treating Asakwakwa again like a slave. One day, Yantamanta sent Asakwakwa to go and wash the dishes because there was a stream a few hundred meters away from their house where Asakwakwa used to go and do the dishes, where he used to go and wash the dresses, because Yantamanta had told him not to fetch water again from the compound. So one day Asakwakwa went to the stream to wash the dishes, and one of the plates was carried away by water. Asakwakwa rushed and he did not find the plate. So he came back and reported to Yantamanta that water had carried a plate away. Behold, Yantamanta was very angry. She screamed, insulted Asakwakwa. She asked him how he could have been so careless to allow the water carry one of her plates away. She beat him up mercilessly, and she called her children to beat him up as well. Yantamanta and her children beat upon Asakwakwa. After having given him the beatings of his life, she ordered him to go back and look for that plate. And she told Asakwakwa not to come back to the house until he found that plate. And he said that if he did not come back with a plate, she was going to kill him. The frightened Asakwakwa left the house and went to the stream and looked at the water that had carried his plate away. He cried and thought of his mother. What a wicked world he was living in. His mother had been kind to everybody. Why was Yantamanta treating him like this? He thought of running away and never come back, but he did not know where to go. He decided to go in search of his plate. So he entered that stream and started following the water to where it was going. He followed, walked, and was tired, but he did not see the plate. Night was coming. Asakwakwa had not yet seen the plate. And then he looked up one hill and he saw a hut. And he decided to go to that hut and see if he could spend some time there and get up in the morning and go back in search of his plate. Thanks for listening this far, dear viewers. I hope you really enjoyed this little part of the Tale of Asakwakwa. This is one of many stories that we have published already. There are books. I'm sure in my next projections, I'm going to show you some of my books. I am inviting all of you to like and share this video so that, like I said from the very beginning, so that we reconnect to our realities of the past. I think it is very, very important. Thanks so much for liking and sharing this video.